Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Parker Loves Sports YouTube channel. I'm your host, Parker. Thank you for tuning in for another episode. And today we have the Denver Broncos mock draft 7.0. Man, I'm having so much fun with these, introducing new prospects to you all that I find exciting and prospects that I frankly want the Broncos to draft in April. Now, I try and mix it up a little bit just to have some variety and parity so it's not the same thing over and over and over. However, there are a couple prospects that, I'm just in love with, and that if they're there, I'm going to take them because I think that they would be a great fit for the Broncos and would significantly improve this team. But yeah, so in this video, we're going to go over all of the Broncos picks, our 2 third-round picks, our 4th-round pick, our 5th-round pick, and our 6th-round pick, as well as covering the recent Dre'Mont Jones rumor. So stay tuned to that and more. And as always, let's get started. Before we jump into this, make sure you tackle that subscribe button, as the support would be greatly appreciated. I'm trying to hit 500 subscribers by the time the NFL draft gets here. And if you could help me with that goal, that would mean the absolute world to me, and I would highly, highly appreciate it. And of course, with that being said, let's get started. And as always, I just want to remind you that Jesus is King. I pray that you give your life to him. He's got a plan and a purpose for you. And I just truly hope that you accept Jesus with your whole heart and believe that he died on the cross for your sins. And if you truly believe that, then you'll go to heaven. It's that simple. It's that easy. It's by grace through faith that we are saved. It's not by our works, because the work has already been done by Jesus when he came to earth, lived the perfect life, and died on the cross for our sins. And if you believe with your whole heart that he did that and accept him as your Lord and Savior, then you'll go to heaven. Now, works are good, but they're not required to get into heaven. And I just, as a Christian, I feel it's important to share this message with as many people as possible. For those who haven't heard the gospel or haven't heard the good news, I do feel it's important to share that with as many people as possible. And now, with that being said, let's jump into this. So starting off, we have the Dre'Mont Jones news. And you can see here by Jordan Schultz, he posted a kind of a picture article on Twitter and says, Broncos star defensive lineman Dre'Mont Jones plans to test the free agent market and command a contract in the range of 60 to 70 million, which, isn't good if the Broncos have to compete with other teams for Dre'Mont Jones services, because yeah, he's going to get paid, and with the Broncos cap space, frankly, I don't know if they're going to be able to compete with signing Dre'Mont Jones long term. And on Dre'Mont Jones' Instagram story, he actually put he added Jaden Schultz, and he's put the 100 emoji. So this is fairly true. Not fairly true. This is 100% true. And so I kind of broke it down what a contract could look like. I think the Broncos would try and sign him to a 5-6 year deal. So if they go 6 years for $70 million, Dre'Mont Jones would get about $11.6 million annually. If they wanted to do $70 million by 5 years, that would be $14 million annually. And of course, you can always front load contracts to pay him more up front and then make it less in the back, or you could backload him, pay him less right away, and then pay him more towards the end of the contract. If you wanted to go the $60 million route, 6 years, you would pay him $10 million a year, and 5 years, you would pay him about $12 million per year. Now, you could franchise tag him, which would cost the Broncos $18.9 million, which would be higher than pretty much all these. So the Broncos should sign him to the long-term deal, I would think, to save the money if they really want to bring Dre'Mont Jones back. And I feel like we traded Bradley Chubb because we wanted to sign Dre'Mont Jones long term. So we'll have to see. But if the Broncos want to franchise tag him, it'd be 18.9. Although the Broncos said they were not going to franchise tag him and let Dre'Mont Jones test the market, which really scares me. But if you want to look at some of the defensive linemen's salary, of course, Aaron Donald, the highest paid defensive lineman at $95 million. Then you got Leonard Williams at $63 million, DeForest Buckner at $84 million, Chris Jones at $80 million, Jonathan Allen at $72 million, Vita Vea at $71 million, and Kenny Clark at $70 million. And this is all their total salaries. So Dre'Mont Jones would be getting paid more than Leonard Williams if he goes to $70 million route. If he goes $60 million, then just under that. And then he would be just under Vita Vea, and he would be around the same as Kenny Clark. If he goes $70 million, $60 million, he would still be under that, but just kind of the guys that Dre'Mont Jones would be compared with if he signs this contract. And I think he's worth it. I think the guys below him, I'd rather have Dre'Mont Jones on the team rather than those guys. So I think he deserves it. I think he's super, super underrated. And I'm hoping the Broncos can get a contract done with Dre'Mont Jones, because if he leaves, I think the Broncos are going to have a very hard time replacing his production. But we'll see. So I kind of wanted to join to put this in, and it's going to factor in to this mock draft. And so in the third round, pick 67, I have the Broncos selecting Jaquelin Roy. I want to say Waugh so bad because as a hockey fan, Patrick Waugh, Nicholas Waugh, it's pronounced Waugh. But Jaquelin Roy is here, and I think he is so underrated in this draft class. Maybe this is a little high, yes, but Jaquelin Roy, you won't be able to replace his production, Dre'Mont Jones' production with him, but he is going to be a darn good football player. And I just want to say this, actually. The reason I put stats is because you can't base a player just off the stats. I put him there for ease of what they did in college, but stats are kind of meaningless. You got to watch the tape, and I do watch the tape, but I just think it's the easiest to put stats up there to reference so you don't have to read a whole paragraph. But Jaquelin Roy, he eats up tackles. He can take on double teams. He can take on single teams. He applies so much pressure. You'll see he only has 4 sacks, but the pressure he provides is way more than the sacks. Sure, he got recorded with 4 sacks, but the pressure he applies helps other teammates set up with sacks. He's that good. He's got 13.5 tackles for loss, which is a part of that pressure. 97 tackles. He's going to help you stop the run. And in 31 games, Jaquelin Roy would be a very solid pickup for the Broncos. Now, he did play mostly in a 4-3 defense, being an interior defensive lineman. But with the Broncos, I do expect us to still stay. Are we going to play in a 3-4? And regardless, if we play in a 3-4 or 4-3, I do think Jaquelin Roy, he can play in a 3-4 as a defensive end, or if we play in a 4-3 as a defensive tackle. I think that Jaquelin Roy is able to do that because, quite frankly, if we don't draft a defensive lineman and Dre'Mont Jones leaves, I'm not feeling confident. We got DJ Jones, who I like, but then other guys you got on the team are Mike Purcell, Deshaun Williams, who are both getting up there in age. You have 4th round pick from last year, Ioma Uwazurike, who I like. But then you also got Matt Henningsen. I don't know if Matt Henningsen, 6th round pick from last year, is going to be that guy. So I think it's important. If Dre'Mont Jones leaves, we have to absolutely pick up a defensive lineman. If we sign Dre'Mont Jones, I'm not too worried about it because we would still have DJ Jones, you'd still have Dre'Mont Jones, and then you would have Ioma Uwazurike, the rookie, and then you also have Matt Henningsen to potentially place it. But with Dre'Mont Jones potentially even, I think you got to at least look at the options at defensive line. With back-to-back picks, with the 68th pick, I have probably one of my favorite gems in this class, maybe my favorite player in the draft for the Broncos to select with one of their first-round picks. It's Emil Ekiyor, guard out of Alabama. This is someone who, on draft day, I'm going to be pounding my fist for the Broncos to take. If he's there for the Broncos at pick 67 and 68, I think that we got to take him because from what it's sounding like right now, I don't know if Dalton Risner is going to be back with the Broncos next season. Mixed in with if the Broncos do pay Dre'Mont Jones, will they be able to pay someone like a Dalton Risner? Because they might go ahead, pay Dre'Mont Jones, and they might go ahead and pay Mike McGlinchey a tackle, and then they might not be able to do that. And so replacing Dalton Risner would be solid. Risner has kind of regressed since his rookie season. I'd like to see him back since he's a Colorado kid, but quite frankly, if the Broncos need to, I think Ekiyor would be the perfect spot. And then you would have a line of Garrett Bowles, Emil Ekiyor, Lloyd Cushenberry. Then you would have Quinn Miners, the best player on that line, in my opinion. And then you would have to work out the right tackle, but that would be an insane offensive line. It wouldn't be the best, but I think it could be if Ekiyor works out. I think it could be like a top 15, top 10 offensive line. Ekiyor is 6'3", 324 pounds. He plays with a ton of physicality. He's great at both the run and pass blocking. He's got a ton of college experience. His balance can be a little bit questionable at sometimes. That's what he needs to work on. And he does have shorter arms, but that's why I think he's going to play guard because linemen with typically shorter arms, they typically do tend to play guard. And so that's why I have him playing at guard, not tackle, because I'm not a huge fan of tackles with shorter arms like Rashawn Slater, although he worked out for the Chargers, like the Peter Skoronski, who's coming out this year. So Emil Ekiyor, though, one of my favorite players in this draft. Then moving on to the fourth round, I have the Broncos selecting another Alabama Crimson Tide offensive lineman, and that is going to be Tyler Steen, offensive tackle, obviously out of Alabama. Now, that right tackle position for the Broncos has been a rotating door for the past while. This past season, it was Billy Turner, Cam Fleming, Calvin Anderson. Last season, Bobby Massey played there. Compton we signed this year. Then there was Jawan James. So it's been a revolving door, and the Broncos really haven't had a set position there for a while. Maybe they go out and sign someone in free agency so they don't have to plug in a rookie or someone who isn't the best, because you got to protect Russell Wilson. Your number one goal absolutely has to be to protect Russell Wilson. So Tyler Steen, I have picking up out of Alabama, could be more of a developmental tackle, but I think he's got the tools to develop into a nice, maybe not a super elite tier offensive lineman, although I wouldn't count that out of the question, but maybe just a solid offensive lineman. Now, Steen is 6'5", 317 pounds. He has got a ton of athleticism, and that goes along with the agility and speed laterally. So if they try and run around him off the edge, he's going to be able to have the agility and speed to get back there. His technique could use some work, and he's not the greatest run blocker. I think that could be an improvement for him. But in pass pro, and pass blocking, he is solid. And I just want to say thanks to the guys over at the Draft Network for providing the notes on both Tyler Steen and Emil Ekiyor, because to me, grading and viewing offensive linemen is probably my weakest spot. I'm not super great at watching the film and grading offensive linemen. That's not my specialty. So I just want to say big thanks to those guys. And so, yeah, I do really like Tyler Steen for the Broncos. Next up, in the fifth round, I have the Broncos selecting D. Winters, linebacker out of TCU. Now, the Broncos linebacking core was better than I thought it was going to be. Josie Jewell had his best season, in my opinion, and he's entering the final year of his contract. So I'm hoping the Broncos can extend Josie Jewell beyond just next season. The Broncos and Alex Singleton want to come to an agreement and bring him back. So hopefully that happens. We'll have to see, though. And then you got Jonas Griffith as a depth linebacker. I think he's a free agent, but I'm not 100% sure. But if he is, I would like the Broncos to bring him back as a depth linebacker. And then you have also got Justin Strnad, who was a fifth-round pick in 2020, who, isn't super great. And this will probably be the last season with the team before his rookie contract expires. And he could even be cut before then if the Broncos do decide to pick up someone like a D. Winters to eventually maybe replace an Alex Singleton, because he isn't the most athletic linebacker. And let's get this straight. D. Winters is absolutely athletic. He can rush the passer. He can stop the run. If the quarterback tries to run out and scramble, he's able to go and close the gap and tackle the quarterback. He's got that closing speed. He's able to play in coverage. He's able to defend the pass. He can do it all. I think he's another sleeper in this draft and someone who I'd like the Broncos to take a look at to pick up for their interior offensive line core. Not if they might not necessarily need it this season, but in seasons in the future down the road, I definitely could see them using someone like a D. Winters. And, like I said, stats aren't everything. That's why I'm explaining to you what they do. But, here's the stats if you want to see them. 45 games, 246 tackles, 33.5 tackles for loss, 12.5 sacks, 3 interceptions. Just kind of the gist of it. D. Winters is an absolute fantastic pick for the Broncos if he fell in the fifth round. And then finally, in the sixth round, I have the Broncos selecting Keaton Mitchell, running back, East Carolina, or I guess Eastern Carolina. I couldn't fit it all up there. But Tajay Spears was my guy, and then as soon as I started hyping him up, everyone started hyping him up as well. So I kind of had to move off of that because, in my opinion, Tajay Spears is going to be like a fourth-round pick. Maybe he sneaks into day 2 and is a third-round pick. But yeah, I am going with Keaton Mitchell. Keaton Mitchell is an absolute speedster. He's not going to break any tackles. He's not going to stiff arm, but he is shifty and fast. So he's going to make people miss an open space, and he's going to blow him away with his getaway speed. He is super fast. And, I know the Broncos said they're confident in Javonte Williams possibly returning at the start of next season. I don't know how true that's going to be. The injury didn't look super great when it happened. Hopefully he's back, but we'll have to see. And I think for the future, Keaton Mitchell and Javonte Williams would be a dynamic 1-2 punch. Javonte being that power back and Keaton Mitchell being that speedster back who can also be a receiving back if you need him to. Next season, I expect the Broncos running back room to look like Latavius Murray. I'm hoping we're going to bring him back. Javonte Williams, whenever he's healthy. I don't know if Chase Edmonds is going to stay on the team. He might be a cap casualty. And then but I do expect a rookie running back, whether that be a late round pick or an undrafted free agent, to be on the team just to build that running back depth. But yeah, Keaton Mitchell is absolutely fantastic. You'll see in 33 games for East Carolina, he had 463 rushing attempts, rushed for over 3,000 yards, averaging about 6.5 yards per carry and scoring 25 touchdowns on the ground, while also being productive in the air with 60 receptions, 580 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Mitchell is he is my new favorite late round running back for the Broncos to go after and draft. And Mitchell and Javonte would be a dynamic 1-2 punch for the future. One of my favorite picks. But that is going to be the video. Make sure if you did enjoy to leave a like and subscribe to the channel down below if you are brand new, as the support is greatly appreciated. Try and hit that subscribe button. It would mean the absolute world to me. I'm trying to hit 500 subscribers by the time the NFL draft gets here. So if you could help me with that goal, that would mean the absolute world to me. And anyways, my name is Parker. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.